Hi guys, welcome to Biology Lesson 4.02, where we talk about metabolism. You might think of the word metabolism as something somebody has talked about in kind of common conversation, like, oh my gosh, he can eat whatever he wants, he's got such a high metabolism. Well, actually, metabolism is, if we're going to define it, we could kind of define it as all the reactions in a living organism. All the reactions in an organism. We've talked about over the course of the chapters how your body breaks down food that you eat and then it changes it and it builds it into things you want. Well, if we're breaking something down, and we've seen these terms before too, catabolic reaction and anabolic reaction. A catabolic reaction takes a large structure and breaks it into small pieces and usually releases energy in the process. So we're breaking down big compounds into smaller. And it usually releases energy. Remember, energy is capital E. Well, anabolic's the opposite, and we talked about anabolic steroids and how those weightlifters use those to build their muscles. So ana and bolio and ana means build up. So an anabolic reaction builds larger compounds from small pieces. And this requires energy. We have to put energy in. So let's look at a couple of different examples. So let's do example 1, and I'll do that in red. When you digest your food, is that, if you take the piece of pizza, is that catabolic or anabolic? Did you say catabolic? So eating a piece of pizza. That's going to be catabolic. And we're going to take all of those big molecules in our pizza, break it down into all the smaller molecules. So we would be taking the pizza and we would be breaking it into the monomers like glucose and amino acids. So over here, the counterpart to that, the anabolic portion, would be using the monomers let's just say glucose that we broke down to build glycogen. Do you remember glycogen found in the liver? It's your short-term stores of carbs. So we take those glucose molecules and we snap them together and we get a larger molecule called glycogen. And that took energy. We had to put energy in. All right, well, in this chapter, one of the examples we're going to do here, so I'm going to start over here on this side, is we're going to take small molecules, and I'm going to actually write over here, like water and carbon dioxide. And we're going to put those together in the presence of energy. And in this case, we're going to say solar energy. And we're going to get glucose. So we combine carbon dioxide and water using solar energy to make glucose. Guys, what did I just describe? Photosynthesis. I just described photosynthesis. In fact, the formula for photosynthesis is CO2 plus H2O Sometimes people will write light on top or sunlight. Gives us C6H12O6, and we get oxygen as a waste product. So this is the glucose that was in at the food pyramid on the last page that was in the plants that you eat. So we take the glucose down at the cellular level. So the blues are together and the reds are together. So in this case, we're going to have glucose up here. And we're going to break it down into, back down into water and carbon dioxide. And we're going to get off energy, but the energy we're going to get off is ATP. So in this case, we break glucose down into water and carbon dioxide. Let me just add really quick. If you don't know that this is carbon dioxide and that's water and that's glucose is here, you need to get those memorized. So make sure you get those back into your memory banks. So in the process, we produce ATP. We call this process cellular respiration. Cellular respiration. You might be thinking, wait a minute, over here, I was breaking down pizza and making glucose, but now you're saying if I break down glucose, so how can I have glucose on both sides? It doesn't matter what you have. It depends where you start from and where you go to. It's kind of like you could take a tree and cut a tree down. But if you're trying to make firewood, you're going to cut branches then and cut the branches again. So we're just doing two different breaks. But we're going from pizza to glucose, big to small. And here we're going glucose to water and carbon dioxide. So that's still big to small. And these are the two things. So I was beginning to point this out in the last molecule. The first half of the packet is photosynthesis. So this is the first half. And the second half is cell respiration. Let's really quick write out, what would this look like if I was taking glucose and I was breaking it down? If I wanted to write a chemical equation, I would write my glucose formula. And it really works best if you do this in the presence of oxygen. It's kind of like, have you ever tried to light a fire when the wood's wet on a day when you don't have still air? Hard to do, but if you've got dry wood and a still day, you've got lots of oxygen, it burns better. Now, this really isn't part of the equation, but I wanted to show that we're now taking the glucose that was made in photosynthesis, but we're basically burning it, and we're producing this as a waste product, but we get the ATP. And this is cellular respiration. We're going to see these two equations over and over and over, and you have to understand what they mean. So if you understand I'm going small to big, that's going to help you remember photosynthesis. If you remember this is big to small, it's going to help you remember cell respiration. The sooner you memorize these, the happier you're going to be. So our takeaways here is, if you look at a organism, all of the chemical reactions that take place are called its metabolism. And we break metabolism into two categories, anabolic and catabolic. Anabolic is to build, catabolic is to break down. We gave two examples of each. So if I take pizza to glucose and then I use that glucose to build glycogen. The big one, though, is we talked about photosynthesis and cell respiration and how one is catabolic and one is anabolic. All right, more on that to come in the videos ahead. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.